presents School is Now in Session.
Welcome to Homeschooled Podcast.
Homeschool.
The homeschool podcast. Why? Because he was homeschooled.
It's time to document the journey. Welcome back to Homeschool Podcast. I'm Augustino Zoida. I'm the host of Homeschool Podcast. It's great to have you guys back. I got to tell you, I had a great weekend. I hope you did too. But I have been looking forward to being with you guys. I honestly have the whole weekend. I love doing this podcast, and I love all my listeners. I love talking to you guys and the feedback that you guys give me. I had a fantastic weekend with my wife. We laid low. We ran errands. We walked around the neighborhood a little bit, looked at some Halloween decorations. Wasn't too many people out. I hope that you guys had a fantastic weekend. I hope that you stayed safe. I hope that you had some fun, created some memories, started some new traditions, got creative on Halloween. That's what I did. I had a fantastic time. Me, my wife, my dog. We just did what we wanted to do. And I got to tell you guys, I couldn't wait to see you again today, Monday night, which is when I'm recording this. So thank you. Welcome back. We are going to be continuing the series, The Great Debates, which is something that I started doing when we started having our presidential debates this 2020 election, and I started to do the Great Debates with stand-up comedians who are debating why their comic, who they think is better than the other one that the other one was given. And this is a 3-part series, and this is episode 3. If you haven't gone out and checked the other ones yet, the first one was Carlin versus Pryor. The second one was Dangerfield versus Hedberg. And today we are going to be doing Joe Rogan versus Chris Rock. This is going to be a lot of fun. And this, usually I'm the moderator. This time I thought, let's make it fair. I'll actually debate in one. So my co-host, Kevin Lyons, is going to be moderating this one. They'll both be calling in just a second. Before we begin, I would like to remind everybody that I will be in Philly. I'm coming to Philly, you guys, November 12th through the 14th, and I will be there with Sam Tripoli. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to see everybody out in Philly and do comedy again, live comedy, what I love to do. I hope that if you're in the area, you can come by. I know things are a little crazy right now. I, too, am going like, man, I hope my gig doesn't get canceled because there's like too much violence in the streets and stuff. But hopefully by then, things will be calmed down a little bit and under control. And I really, really look forward to seeing all of you guys. Also, please do me a big favor and download my comedy album. And it's called The Bad Guy, which that Billie Eilish song comes up when you search that. So my name is Augustino Zoida. The spelling is, on this podcast. You see it everywhere. If for any reason you can't find my comedy album, do me a favor, guys. It takes 2 seconds out of your day to put a little penny in the karma box, the comedy karma box. Go to homeschooledpod.com. Homeschooledpod.com. And you can download my album from there because it has all the links. So you're going to click on merch and you can buy Homeschool Podcast t-shirts, other accessories like mugs and masks, face coverings and stuff. We got in the new neck gaiters, Homeschool Podcast, and then there's also a link right there to download the comedy album. So just take a second, do me that favor, and also I really would love it if everybody can leave me a 5-star review. Listen, guys, if you're new to listening to my podcast or just now checking me out, please just do me a favor and give me a shot, you guys. It helps me out a lot. Please just leave me a 5-star review, whether you download on Amazon or iTunes or wherever. Just give it 5 stars. That really helps me out a lot. And while you're on homeschooledpod.com, that's also where you can get tickets to see me. Like when I'm in Philly, November 12th through the 14th, you're going to click on tour when you're there on homeschooledpod.com. And that's it, you guys. That's all the information that I wanted to give you. And I am about to call in our guests, okay? So normally the style of the show, we have different guests on. If you're newly tuning in, I have a lot of great guests on. We have great conversations and stuff. But this is a part 3, which I haven't been doing them like back to back. By the way, this is I've just been doing like part 1. I released a couple episodes normal, so I just been kind of sneaking them in throughout the last like month, and I hope that you guys have been enjoying them. So we are doing debates, and this time I'm going to be debating and another comic, Pat Colicchio, who's going to be on the video with us in just a second. And I am also going to be debating. I'll be debating him, and then my co-host Kevin Lyons is the moderator. Sorry, guys, just get my thoughts together because I am about to text those guys to come on into the chat. There he is. Oh shit! What up, buddy?
Not much, man. Just typical Monday, doing some laundry and shit, watching too much TV.
Yeah.
The usual.
Well, we're just waiting for Kevin to. We're now recording. We're waiting for Kevin to pop in. He should be here any second. And oops, excuse me. And in the meantime, dude, I just want to thank you for inviting me out to that mic the other night.
Oh, of course. You kidding me?
That was a lot of fun.
All the times you've gotten me on stage, I think I can get you at an open mic.
Well, technically, I invited myself, but thank you for allowing me to go up because, dude, I just had so much fun like being at an open mic again. Here's Kevin. Let's let him in the room really quick. Where is he at? And welcome, Kevin Lyons. Well, he was there. We need video and audio from Kevin. Hey! He made it.
Hold on. I gotta get rid of this shit.
All right. You gonna do your special little lighting, or you're good? You like it the way it is?
No. I just wanted to. It's for work. I had to erase something on my name. Okay. Hey,
Alrighty.
Hey, Pat. How's it going, buddy?
Going on, Kev? Good to see you.
Good to see you too, man. How's everything going? You all right?
Yeah, just fucking not working, living off the taxpayer. It's pretty great.
There you go. Oh, well,
I've been the taxpayer for so many years now.
Yeah.
It's all coming back.
Reap the benefits.
Taking care of you.
Exactly.
So
How's
I was
it going,
just,
Augustino?
it's going good, dude. I was
You
just
having trouble reading?
No, dude, when I look at the screens, I got to wear these glasses now when I look at computers all day and stuff. Kevin's such a bully right away. He just goes right into the four-eyed
I don't
freak.
know if it was for trendy purposes or because
I was thinking the same thing, if I'm being honest.
Really?
I've never seen him wear those motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Well, you don't really see me in front of a computer either.
That's true. How's it going? How's it going, buddy? You good?
Yeah, man, I'm going good. I was just telling Pat, thank you for having me the other night. He was hosting this mic, which is like kind of cool. They put a tent up in a parking lot and
there you go.
and they're doing some mic. It was just so nice to be at an open mic and just hear comics try out new ideas and then get to go up and try. Dude, I slept so good that night for the first time in a long time because I don't get to go on stage every day. If I go down to stage every day like I used to, I would be sleeping so well, which I'm not. But anyway, let's get right into the debate. Let's not waste any more time.
I'm the moderator. I will say this.
You are.
We're going to get right into the debate, everybody. We got this. This debate is Chris Rock versus Joe Rogan. Okay? Augustino, you got Chris Rock.
Yes.
Pat, you got Joe Rogan.
Right. And Kevin, you know the rules? Or do you want me to go over them?
Oh, you can go over the rules.
Okay, so the rules so Kevin's the moderator. He's going to ask us questions. Usually the first question is always like, why is so-and-so better than so-and-so? Or why do you believe so? But other than that, all the questions he asks, we each have a minute to answer. And if we go over a minute, we can lose a point. If I interrupt you or you interrupt me, you can lose a point for interrupting during my time. And after you had your minute, the other person will have a minute to respond to what you said, maybe give their argument, and Kevin will be in charge of whoever he thinks made a good point. We can both get a point on one question. None of us could, or one of us, or not the other one. So basically, it's not going to be long. It's not too many questions. And
real quick, per question, is it 1 point per question per person?
Yeah, if you think that like whoever made their argument to the question you asked better.
Okay.
But you
Are
can
rebuttals allowed?
Yeah, if you want to give somebody a point because of a good rebuttal, like it's totally fine.
I was going to say you can get up to 2 points per round, one for your argument and one for your rebuttal.
That's pretty much the way I've been doing it now, but overall this is just fun. I madly respect and love both the comics that we happen to be like doing today, and it's just for fun. And I like the fact that we kind of just have this flawed system. Kevin's going to give me the points where he thinks points are needed. But you know what? You, the viewer at home, get to decide who you think won, which is also fun. And hopefully, if you're not a big stand-up fan, after hearing these, you go and you actually check out some of the stand-up from these guys if you haven't already. And all right, that's it.
Please forgive my questions. I try to come up with the best questions possible, and we'll see what happens.
Well, let's just have some fun.
Yes, we're going to have lots of fun. This is all fun.
Okay.
All right. Question number 1, I'm going to ask Pat. Why is Joe Rogan a better comic than Chris Rock?
The fact of the matter is, I think Joe Rogan is maybe the most impactful comedian of modern comedy. I mean, he is so responsible for the resurgence of the Comedy Store. They just did an entire episode on him coming back to the Comedy Store in the documentary series. He's responsible for so many popular comedians today who used to open for him: Joey Diaz, Ari Shaffir, Andrew Santino. And like, we wouldn't even be doing this if it wasn't for Joe Rogan. He is the pioneer of the comedy podcast and kind of even the podcast in general. He has opened new audiences to comedy in a way I don't think almost anyone has.
Wow, 33 seconds. Is that the rest of your argument?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I respond?
There was some. Yes, you may. Is this a rebuttal?
This is my rebuttal.
All right, go ahead, rebuttal.
All right, so I agree with him. He is a pioneer of podcasts, but I wouldn't say that we're talking about who's a great podcaster here. I would say that we're talking about who's a great stand-up comic. Although Rogan is a great stand-up comic, and yes, he is kind of the reason that the store came back on the map and became huge again. He's the reason that so many comics are making it, because his platform is huge. But this is all stuff that happened after he was already famous. And you can say part of his fame was because he's a great stand-up comic, but it's not to say he's better than Chris Rock.
Okay. And that was your rebuttal?
That's my rebuttal.
Okay. Go ahead, Augustino. I am going to give you the same question. Why is Chris Rock a better comic than Joe Rogan?
I think that Chris Rock touches on a lot of areas in his stand-up comedy that are a little edgy. Not that Rogan is not edgy too, but Rogan's edgy in a different way. Like, he'll touch on things like, how high can you get? Alien type jokes or, caveman type stuff. Really dissect history as well. But Chris Rock finds a way to make uncomfortable situations funny. Like, straight up talk about race. Not to mention, first of all, if you are quoted in the television series The Office, you're the greatest comic ever. What an achievement. In The Office, they literally have a whole episode about one of Chris Rock's most famous bits, which is about the difference between N-words and black people, which is just so dangerous. But he did it, man. He pulled it off, and it's hilarious. It's such a brilliant way to get away with that. Well, he's black, so it's a little easy for him. Yeah, man, I think that also he's not a...
1 minute, thank you.
Okay.
Pat, do you have
I'm going to trumpet and just go over you.
Do you have a that is 1 point taken away.
Oh, come on.
Go ahead. Pat, you have a rebuttal?
I do have a rebuttal. If you remember correctly, Michael Scott also lists one of his personal heroes as Joe Rogan.
That's
also
true. Damn, that's true.
Joe became entirely famous because of stand-up. Chris Rock took a very... well-trodden path to comedy of starting out as a stand-up, becoming famous through a comedy TV show, and then doing movies. Joe Rogan, the only reason his podcast is famous is because he's a stand-up comedian.
Okay. All right. Well, the first round is over. Is that the end of your rebuttal?
It is.
I had 1 point for Augustino, and I took it away because he interrupted. And Pat, I actually gave you 2 points.
Why does he get 2 points?
What's that?
Why does he get 2 points?
Well, I'm explaining that right now. Do you want me to take away your negative points? No, I will. I gave you 2 points, one for your argument and then one for your rebuttal, because your argument said that he influenced a lot of comics, where Augustino did not mention that at all. And that was a big thing about turning people onto comedy, is how many other comedians did they inspire? And not only that, when you mentioned the podcast, it wasn't for the fact that made him a good comic. You said that it was for the fact that it opened up a wider audience, and that was something that I gave you a point for.
All right,
Augustino, your rebuttal on that, and because your rebuttal with saying that Michael Scott that was his favorite, his hero, even though Augustino used that in his argument. So I gave you 2 points for that, and I subtracted a point from Augustino for interrupting.
Okay.
And
Okay.
and that was it. Okay. Hey, don't get cocky with that drink. So that was only the first question. All right, this next question I was having trouble coming up with, but anyway, I had a bunch of different versions of this question, but this question right now, with COVID restrictions aside, it's Thanksgiving dinner, and you want to introduce people to new comics, and you have to tell a Joe Rogan joke or a Chris Rock joke. What do, Augustino?
You tell a Chris Rock joke. Bro, see, Rogan, although I personally think he's a brilliant writer and he's one of my favorite writers when it comes to stand-up comedy, but personally I don't think he's for everybody. I would never send my mom, which by the way I do send my mom stand-up clips sometimes if it's something I think that she would like. I never send my mom stand-up clips from Joe Rogan. It's just nothing that I don't think it's for everybody. I think his stand-up is an acquired taste. Like his last special, he has a really great bit on the Kardashians, which I don't think it's for everybody. He compares them to gargoyles, and I mean most of his bits. I mean, there's one, the flying monkeys from space album. You know what I mean? It's just like I don't think that's for grandma and mom at Thanksgiving that are gonna. Not that it's inappropriate. It's just they're not gonna get a laugh. I would do Chris Rock because he has more material that is more universal to everybody. Not just racial or edgy, like I said in the first round, but he has more material that it's just stand-up comedy. He probably has something for everybody because he's also been a writer for so many famous stand-up comics, and people don't even know. They watch a funny special like, oh, Louis C.K., and like you don't even know that Chris Rock is probably the one who wrote a lot of those bits. And Chris Rock hosts the Oscars a lot, which obviously when you have to open up the Oscars, it's like the whole world is watching. That's for everybody.
That was 1 minute. That was 1 minute. Do you want me to take your point away?
Listen, bro, there's no points for going over.
Yes, there is. All right, Pat, do you have a rebuttal for that?
I do, and the fact of the matter is, Chris Rock has come up with one stand-up special in the past decade. If I'm trying to get someone new into comedy, I'm not breaking out jokes that are 11 years old. Who am I getting there?
Okay, that was a
mom and grandma.
Grandma. All right, Pat. That was your rebuttal. So
yeah,
now, same questions. Thanksgiving dinner, and you have to impress the table of people with a joke. Do you tell them a Chris Rock joke or do you tell them a Joe Rogan joke?
See, I think Augustino brought up Joe Rogan talks a lot about like getting high and monkeys from space, and that was true like 6 years ago. But like I would say his last two specials have mostly been about how weird society is right now and how people are getting canceled for saying really normal stuff and how these teams in society are against each other. And who talks about that more than your family on Thanksgiving? Your weird uncle who's about to bring up something racist. You'd be like, they'd probably cancel me for this. He'd love Joe Rogan.
Okay. Augustino, do you have a rebuttal for this?
Yeah. I mean, I would disagree. I mean, sure, his comedy is more relevant because he releases one every year. I mean, he's got this Netflix contract where every year he releases an album. And, the only reason why Chris Rock didn't have that contract is because Netflix wasn't giving out contracts like that back then. Now Chris Rock has a special. Like you said, he had one in the last several years because they're just now giving like all these contracts, and then they went to him. That I would say that's the only reason that Chris Rock didn't. And I don't think it's necessarily true that Rogan's going to appeal to everybody. I think at Thanksgiving you want to avoid current events.
And what would you go for?
Just universal funny things that are not going to make people argue at the dinner table about their views and opinions on stuff. Just straight up like comedy about your mom and dad. Chris Rock has a bunch of funny stories about growing up with his dad and being poor with his parents. I mean, the whole television show Everybody Hates Chris was based off of his family stand-up comedy.
Okay. Wow, that ended right at a minute.
Ooh, I'm good, bro. My comedy clock is back in tune.
It's back in tune. I did give you one for your argument and for your rebuttal.
Ooh.
So right now you guys are tied 3-3.
Okay.
You better not interrupt.
Better not interrupt.
Shouldn't
now
it be 2-3?
I do also.
Wait, what, Pat?
Shouldn't it be 2-3 because you lost a point?
Well, he did lose a point, and then I gave him more points
right.
because
Sorry.
his argument and his rebuttal.
So I would have been 4?
Yeah, you would have been
Okay.
4, but you were a little fucking asshole who had to interrupt me when I'm in charge.
Well, I always got to make a quick joke. It's going to be my enemy.
So self-control.
Well, hey, you got to control yourself. Patrick is. Do you prefer Pat or Patrick?
Pat works.
Pat. Well, now that you get a point lost, I'm just kidding.
Come on.
I was getting too into that. I thought you were serious.
He's been following the rules. He's been following the rules, and he conducted himself. He didn't try to crack a joke. He was just trying to
All right.
argue his thing.
Yeah,
All right,
Kevin's a
man,
stickler.
this thing is going fast. I feel like I need to extend it a little bit more because we're already on to the 3rd joke. All right.
You only have 3 questions?
Were we supposed to do more?
No, 3's fine. I was just curious. I was just asking.
Okay.
That's totally
All
fine.
right. I also have a backup question. I think I forget it.
In case
But
we tie.
in case you tie. All right. So here we go. Since COVID lockdown, all comedy clubs have been closed. Nobody's been able to perform for a long time. Comedy clubs reopen. Who's going to have a better show from taking a longer break? Pat, go ahead.
That is a good question. I'm gonna have to say Joe Rogan, obviously. I think Joe's been doing it such a long time. I don't think days off really faze him. He's a consummate professional. He started not much longer ago than probably around the same time as Chris Rock, and he's been putting out comedy specials every 2 years without these decade-long breaks in between. You know, he knows what he's doing. He's constantly thinking about comedy, and he's staying sharp on the airwaves.
Okay. Augustino, do you have a rebuttal?
Yeah, but can I just ask you a little bit more about the question? Is that your question? Is that who's going to do a better performance since they haven't practiced in a long time?
Who's going to perform better after taking a longer
Oh,
break?
that's what you meant, right? Just confirming. Okay.
Who's going to perform better since having a longer break since COVID?
Well, Pat's argument is that, Rogan is going to, do better because he's so used to having a special every year or two instead of a decade like Chris Rock. But Chris Rock just maybe last year released his Netflix. Yes, after a decade, he has not had a comedy special. That actually makes him better at being prepared for a long break in between because his last special was amazing and he hadn't had one for like 10 years. So I would say I would give him props for being someone who can write without really having to practice that often and still do stand-up comedy.
Okay. So now, why is Joe Rogan? No, you're Chris Rock. Yeah, you're just. Wait, is that rebuttal just answered your own question?
Well, not really. I was just
Okay,
rebuttaling
so,
that.
All right,
yeah.
so let me now give you the question. After the long break, who's going to have a better performance by, telling jokes?
If I could be fair, I'd say this question is set up for Rogan to win. If I can be fair, I think this is an unfair question because, first of all, in California right now, we're not having shows, but other parts of the state are. And I believe that, Rogan can right now go tour and stuff like that. And he sells out shows like, everywhere. So I just feel like this is kind of a layup for Rogan, this question. But in my job to defend it, I would say that Chris Rock would do a better job. Like I said, he's constantly hosting the Oscars. I don't even know how many times he's hosted the Oscars, which is something that you're writing stand-up comedy for that you'll never have to do again. And it's also something that you can't really practice for. Like Rogan can go to a comedy club and do a set and work on his material, but Chris Rock can't really go to a comedy club and perform like, hey guys, listen to this joke I wrote about Ashley Simpson. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not really relevant in a comedy club, so it's really hard for someone who's hosting Oscars. So I think that he's used to just, the night of going out there and performing jokes that he wrote and never tried.
Okay. Pat, do you have a rebuttal for this?
Yes, well, it's clear my opponent already thinks that Joe Rogan is going to give the better performance when he comes back. And on top of that, if you watch the most recent episode of the Comedy Store documentary, you would know that the last time he hosted the Oscars, Chris Rock did in fact go to the Comedy Store and run all those jokes with Steve Martin. And that's how they warmed up for the event.
Oh, damn.
If I could be fair,
Wait,
in my
hold on. You have to ask my permission if you can rebuttal to that.
That's not I'm not going to rebuttal.
Okay.
The rebuttals are over. This is a comment. Is that I know
off the record, though.
First
It's
of all,
off the record.
I'm not
Doesn't count
current
points.
on the Comedy Store documentary. By the way, I'm only like
your
into
research.
episode
That's not
3
my
out of
fault.
5. It's not your fault. But I also know that comics all the time, when they're getting ready to film something like the Oscars, they go practice at the Comedy Store. And the whole time I was saying that, I'm going, this is such horse shit that I'm making up as I go along.
Okay, all right.
Did you just take away a point?
No,
that was off the
but
record.
I want to. Dude, I was so close to not giving you a point on your last rebuttal because all you were talking about is that, oh, this was set up for Joe. This is set up for Joe. This is set up for Joe, instead of arguing why he would have done.
Well, I think in my rebuttal, I also made my point of why
You did.
Rock would be better.
Let me finish.
That's
Yeah.
your own
Sorry.
fault.
Yes, that's
was
true. That's
retarded.
true. If it would be fair to give me 1 point for those two rather than 1 point each. I understand where you're coming from.
Okay. Well, you guys are tied 4-4.
Oh, so is it
Yes.
sudden death?
It's sudden death, and I got to remember the sudden death question.
Oh no. He's like, I had
All right,
one.
I mean, hold on, because it was I was trying to come up with some questions that could be somewhat fair. Okay. Both comics are super famous. They've done so many sold out shows. I guess, you know, they're used to performing in large crowds. Who is going to perform better on a dead show at 2:00 in the morning with 2 people in the crowd?
Who are you asking?
I'm gonna go. I'm Pat. Pat, go ahead, Pat.
I think it's going to be Joe Rogan because he had to deal with things like that a lot longer than Chris Rock did. Chris Rock has been famous. Chris Rock hasn't done stand-up not famous since like the 90s. Joe Rogan was in there in the original room in the Comedy Store going on after like Eddie Griffin had just cleared the room by going for 2 hours. And he did that for years. And he's had to go through that more recently than Chris Rock has. And he had to go through it more than Chris Rock did.
Okay. Is that the end of your argument?
Yes.
Okay. Wait, hold on. Let me get the timer going. My phone shut off.
You ready for
All
my
right,
rebuttal?
Augustine, are you ready to rebuttal?
Yeah.
Go ahead, rebuttal. Specifically about what he said.
Yeah, specifically about what he said, I think that's, first of all, I don't know what planet you live on where Rogan's walking into a place that's not packed. Because everywhere Rogan goes, it is a sold-out show. Specifically, the Comedy Store got busy again because of Rogan. And Rogan doesn't really do pop-ins. Rogan was scheduled on the bill. So it was never empty when he's performing. He's performing to packed out rooms. He's never popping in. Rock, on the other hand... Ooh, interrupted. Rock, on the other hand...
5 to 4. You went from 5 to 4.
Okay, so Chris Rock, on the other hand...
Hold on.
What? You're cutting into my time.
No, I stopped the timer
Okay.
to give you 5 more seconds. So go ahead. Go ahead.
So
You can
Chris
start.
Rock, on the other hand, would constantly pop in. He's so famous that he couldn't put his name on the bill because he's got like arena contracts and stuff like that, and people didn't want to advertise that Chris Rock's going to be here. Chris Rock, when he did show up to a comedy club, it would often be a pop-in. So he could go up at 2:00 in the morning, 1:00 in the morning, where it was empty, and I think that he has more experience with an empty crowd, so he would kill it.
Okay. Pat, do you have a rebuttal for that?
I do. And the fact of the matter is, if you look at Chris
Wait,
Rock...
that was my rebuttal.
No,
I'm
I'm
rebutting
asking
your rebuttal.
Pat for Pat's rebuttal against you. Wait, that was your rebuttal?
That was my rebuttal to what he said.
Okay, so what is your argument for why Chris Rock would do better in empty crowd at 2:00 in the morning than Joe Rogan?
I guess I did both in the same. Okay, you're right. Yeah, I did both in the same.
All right. Well, why don't you go ahead and say why? Because I want to give Pat a chance to rebut against what you're saying.
Okay. Well, my reason was that Rock was never on a bill. Chris Rock would always do surprise pop-ins. You would never see his name on the lineup. When you go to the Comedy Store, you see Rogan there all the time. When you go into the Comedy Store, you never see Chris Rock because it would be a surprise. They're not allowed to let you know he's there. Same with Chappelle. They'd be secret drop-ins. He'd pop in the middle of the night, late. Sometimes there'd be nobody there. So he would be more experienced with performing in front of empty rooms.
Okay. Pat, do you have a rebuttal for that?
I mean, Chris Rock's secret pop-in was like when I figured out what my Christmas present was and I had to pretend I didn't know. The Comedy Store was like big secret guests coming in at 1 a.m. Everyone knew it was either him or Chappelle. The room would, because I remember trying to get into those rooms, and they would always still be packed no matter what time it was. Or he would get up in the middle of like an already stacked lineup, like at 9 when the room is still full. Rogan had to cut his teeth on empty rooms, going behind guys like Joey Diaz and Andrew Dice Clay and guys who would both kill and empty a room because they were either so good or they stayed up there so long that people left. And he was doing that when Chris Rock was on SNL, already famous.
Wow. Okay.
Off the record comment.
Yeah.
He's right. It is kind of funny how the Comedy Store will do these hints of who's popping in, and they'll be like, "It rhymes with sock."
He's gonna rock the house.
Yeah.
Yes.
With
Yes.
Chappelle, they would always be like, "This guy often smokes on
Smoking,
stage,"
yeah.
and we're always like, "Okay, it's Chappelle or Ron White."
Okay. Are you ready for my total?
Yeah, let's have it.
I'm Augustino. You have 4 points.
Does that mean I got 0 points in the last one? Oh no, I
Pretty
did.
much.
I was at 3.
Well, you didn't really address an issue of why they would perform better in front of nobody rather than just always just popping in.
I did. You just didn't
Pat,
buy it.
I gave you 5 points because you did. I mean, there were some good points saying when Chris Rock was famous on SNL, he was doing these shows, before he was famous. So he's constantly always there late at night, performing, I guess, to nobody. So I gave you Pat 5 and Augustino 4. And that is with
Him getting a point taken away?
You both had points taken
Right, so I definitely lost this one.
You definitely lost this one. In all fairness, I was strictly going off of how you were arguing with your comic, not necessarily who really is the better comic. I was
right,
really
of course. Yeah.
judging about how you were arguing for your comic.
That's what I was doing when I was moderating because comedy's so subjective. I honestly love both of these comics so much.
Oh yeah, they're both great.
They're both awesome. They're both pioneers. They're both epic, man. I mean, in their own way, like Rock too, man. Like I was thinking about it, and like Rock was like, yeah, he was on SNL and stuff like that, but really from like stand up, he really got famous. It wasn't until he didn't do a bunch of movies, where he started until the 90s, and he was like already famous. And he's like one of the original guys who gets a sitcom from being a famous stand up.
Mm-hmm.
Like remember in what was it? Beverly Hills Ninja, where he's the bellboy who's running around helping
Yes.
Chris Farley.
Yes.
And that reminded me of the same role that like Rob Schneider had in Home Alone 2. You know what I mean? And like, not that Rob Schneider didn't do a great job in it. It's just like, it's not like little parts like that are making you a huge superstar. He was just a great, like, groundbreaking comic. And then Rogan too, man. Like, honestly, like Rogan's like one of the greatest comics I've ever met and got to talk with and pick his brain, and just so smart.
Well, so something I like what Pat was doing, and especially, I mean, because obviously Chris Rock doesn't have a podcast. Joe Rogan does have a podcast. But Pat didn't use that as an argument that what makes his comedy better. It just, he used it as that's what he got more people aware of of him.
All right, he won. We got it.
I know, but I'm just saying,
Rogan's
like,
like the new
I
Tonight
gotta say that you didn't use it as the podcast helped him make his jokes better. You used it as him making, getting a bigger audience.
Impact on
That's
comedy.
Yeah. That's what I like, because I was like, yeah, I mean, he podcasts a lot and he has fun when he podcasts, but it's not necessarily jokes. It's
He doesn't tell any jokes. He's
he
not
doesn't really
that funny on the podcast.
Yeah.
He does, yeah. He's really just getting information, but I do like how you didn't use that as that's why he's funnier. You said that's how he was able to get more people to look at him.
He's such an inspiration for me to not be a funny host on a podcast.
I know.
But I'm gonna be completely honest with. I mean, even though Rogan has his podcast in the most famous podcast in the world, he has millions of listeners. I still think Chris Rock would do way better in a stand-up show with a longer time in between. Just because, I mean, like he just, from every time you see him, it just feels like he never missed a beat. I just feel like he was always on top of it. But I love Joe Rogan.
I thought he would too.
but something about Joe Rogan, I love Joe Rogan because he's so inquisitive about the world instead of taking just the typical jokes that he does, or you know what I mean. He's so inquisitive about the world and wanting to know as much. And as comics, you guys are always looking at the world and just trying to discover new things, and that's something that I really liked about Joe. I mean, he's not always trying to crack a joke. He's trying to discover more about the world.
I think a lot of great points were made. I actually do believe that he's not for everybody, Rogan, even though I love him. And
yes,
obviously he's for a lot of people because everybody loves him. But I would say definitely the MMA thing really, put him on the map, and Fear Factor first, and then before that it was the Man Show. So he's kind of he's been around for a really long time, but it's always been a better show followed by a better show followed by a better show, and definitely the MMA fans kind of brought him up. But I mean, definitely great points on Pat's end too. I thought that he made a lot of really great points too.
Yeah, I definitely liked how you focused more on your comic than tearing down the other comic.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I thought. That was something I was looking for. Who's gonna defend their comic rather than who's going to hunt somebody else down?
Well, that's the attitude to take, because I mean, you don't really want to hunt down either of these comics because they're both fucking great.
Down, like attack. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Are you gonna argue why they're the best, or are you gonna talk about why the other guy isn't the best?
I'm so confident in my comic, I don't have to disparage it.
Yeah,
but I do think, I mean, I love Joe Rogan. I love how he thinks about jokes, you know what I mean? Because I feel like I relate to that more. But I mean, across the board, I was gonna ask a question: who's gonna do better amongst a more diverse crowd? But I didn't think that was necessarily a fair question, because not too many people. I mean, everybody. I was just talking to somebody else. I'm like, Chris Rock. I mean, he has done a lot of jokes about race, but all races laugh at it.
Yeah. And he doesn't only talk about race,
that's why I didn't
yeah.
necessarily feel like that was a fair question.
These are both great comics. I just wanted, Pat actually picked Rogan. I picked Rock from as soon as I started doing these series, because I just feel like Rock doesn't get talked about enough as far as
I agree with you.
what a great comic is.
Because he hasn't done as much recently.
That's true. Yeah, that is true. But
do you guys know why Chris Rock doesn't perform as recently as
I think he just got more into acting.
Man, when you got those paychecks Rock does, it's like
you don't have to.
He did. It's not like it was recent. He stopped doing stand up right when he started having leading roles. Some guys.
That should have been a question. Who has a better drive to do stand up comedy?
Oh, that would have been Joe Rogan, because I mean, Rogan, he's never turned his back on his roots. It's always been stand up. I don't like that some comics that when they get really famous off of movies, they don't really do stand up as much. I don't like that they turn their back on it.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I kind of stopped considering. There's a part of me doesn't, not Chris Rock, but there are people who have put out been real popular comedians. I don't really consider comics, because They just did it to get famous, and then they became actors.
Yeah, there's a
Like
bunch.
Michael Keaton. You really consider
Right.
Michael Keaton a comic?
I mean, he was.
Wait, did he start doing stand-up comedy?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he wasn't half bad either. And then so
Were
is
his jokes dark?
oh jeez.
Oh.
Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Dark as the night, yes.
And so was Biff, Thomas F. Wilson. Biff from Back to the Future started as a stand-up comic at the Comedy Store as well.
And we've seen him before. And he's fucking hilarious.
He is great. I've met him before at
He's
the
an awesome
Improv.
guy.
He's a great guy.
We both. I met him on a movie set once. He's super cool.
And he's a funny comic.
Yeah, and well, we met him at the Improv once. But I remember the first time I met him, we were working on a movie it was him and Matt Damon. It took place in the 90s. It was at some office building. I forget the name of the movie, but they had that strict rule where you couldn't talk to any of the celebrities. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Every day I saw Thomas Wilson. I'm like, I want to fucking go say hi to Thomas F. Wilson so bad. And I didn't the entire week I was there. And then finally on the last day, they signed us all out. And I was walking out to my car and I saw Thomas F. Wilson walking out with his assistant. I'm like, fuck it. I'm like, it's the end of the week. I'm not working for them anymore. And so I went running up to him and go, Tom. And he stopped and he goes, listen, I'm not supposed to talk to you, but I'm a huge fan. I'm like, is there any way I can get a picture with you? And this is before smartphones. This is like really shitty fucking flip phone cameras. and it must have been his assistant who was walking him out. I was like, no, he can't do that. Come on, let's go. And he stopped that person and goes, "What? Don't you tell me what to do. Come over here." And then he made his assistant take the picture.
Yeah. Don't tell me what to do, butthead.
He was super cool. And then we ran into him at the Improv.
Yeah.
We saw him perform and we were talking to him outside. I'm like, I actually met you before. He's like, oh geez, was I a jerk? And I said, no, it was the exact opposite. And I explained it. He's like, oh yeah.
He's cool as hell. He actually doesn't really like when people talk about Back to the Future with him, like at all.
I didn't say anything
Yeah.
about Back to the Future to him. I just said I was a huge fan.
I sat with him in the green room once and while he was waiting to go on, and he kind of like, he was like, I'm hiding in here, and I'm like, why? And he was like, because everybody wants to take a picture with fucking Biff, that's why. And I was like, I'm the biggest Back to the Future fan, and I was just like, I'm not saying shit, I'm just gonna sit here and be quiet. But
but the thing is that is a behind the scenes thing. He hasn't said that to a fan or anything. That's what kind of good guy he is, and everybody's allowed to feel that, you know.
That's a behind the scenes thing. Once you start trying to go, can I take pictures? They don't become your peers anymore. They're not your peers. You know what I mean? Like the other night, I went to the Comedy Store for like a viewing of that new movie, The Opening Act, with Jimmy O Yang and Cedric the Entertainer. So Steve Byrne directed it. So the Comedy Store had like a viewing for like the cast members only. So I got invited to that. And I went and I brought my wife, and the whole time she was freaking out, going like, "Oh my God, there's Bill Burr. Can I take a picture with him?" And I was like, "No, like don't bother these guys. Like they're my peers. As soon as we start taking pictures, it becomes like a whole nother thing." And so,
Bill Burr your peer right now?
I mean, we both have the same profession.
I just gave Pat another point for it.
Yeah, but you know what, dude? As soon as I take that picture.
I've always felt that way.
Dude, and then Vince Vaughn was there, and then she's like, "Oh my God, can I take a picture of Vince Vaughn?" I'm like, no, just don't bother anybody. They're all wearing masks. They don't want anybody coming up to them and taking pictures. And then, dude, all of a sudden I saw the drummer from 21 Pilots. He was there for some reason at the Comedy Store, and I'm just like, "Oh my God, I gotta take a picture." My wife's like, no pictures.
Hey, your wife's trying to become a drummer,
Yeah. She's like, "That's my peer."
All right, let me ask you guys.
Hurry up, we only have 2 minutes left before the video cuts out.
Real quick, you guys have performed all the time, and you guys always try to keep your cool. Who haven't you in the comedy world? Who haven't you really not necessarily keep your cool? Who did you geek out about seeing at a comedy club when you were performing? Not necessarily that you did anything to them, but the feeling inside. When did you most get like, "Oh my God"?
I've never freaked out or geeked out or anything like that, but I felt that
internally.
I felt that way with Thomas F. Wilson. Probably everybody. I mean, the first time I met Rogan and he sat there and had a conversation with me for like an hour, I was just the whole time like, "Holy shit, this is awesome! I'm smoking weed with him." You know what I mean? It was just the best. But like, I never said anything.
I know not that you said anything.
Right.
Internally,
Yeah, we got that. It's less than a minute, bro. Let Pat go.
I'm not even timing this. All right, go ahead, Pat.
As far as like performing, probably Joey Diaz. I remember being like knowing that I was going to be on the same show as him, and like even totally knowing he was not going to be there in time to see me, but just being like, "Dude, I got to be on my shit tonight." Like Joey Diaz might be in the audience, like, And I know he's not going to watch me. I know he's not even going to show up in time. But there was like something I was like, oh my god, like this is so exciting.
I've
But in
had
terms of,
like
just seeing it was Burr.
surreal.
like, in a
Burr,
hallway.
right? Yeah.
I was in a hallway with him at the Comedy Store, and I was just like, all right, don't stare.
Because these are like comics, you know? Yeah, I've had like surreal moments literally while on the road opening for Joey, which like it never got old. It was always like I'd had moments where I would stop for a second and be like, I just got off stage in front of a sold out arena and like Joey's up there now. Like this, I have like the best life. You know what I mean? I've literally thought that to myself on several occasions.
All right, we got less than a minute. Pat, I want to say thank you so much for coming and defeating Augustino.
Anytime.
And I thought you debated your candidate very well. I really liked how you made your arguments. Augustino, you made some really good points. You just got to watch your interrupting. But thank you, Pat, so much for coming out and hanging out with us.
Hey, everybody listening at home, whoever you think won, we love the comments. Go ahead and write something or hit me up, homeschoolpod.com. Click on contact. The video is going to go out any second here, so I'll lose you guys in a second. And when they do, I'll just wrap up and do the outros. But, Pat, thank you for being here. And I had a lot of fun with you. And there goes the video. And I want to thank my co-host, Kevin Lyons, for mediating that. I think he did a great job, and I think that he made it that more fun. I hope that you guys had fun. I hope you enjoyed it. Listen, this was the last of the 3-part series. Who knows? Maybe we'll do them. It was a lot of fun. I only wanted to do 3, but maybe somewhere down the road we'll do more because they were just a ton of fun. And the original reason that I decided to do these debates is because after watching the first presidential debate, and, you know, the whole world, I've mentioned this a couple times, you know, especially like comics who I'm friends with on social media, we're all talking about the debates and stuff, which is fine. It's current events. It's one of the most important elections, they say, and I get it, but we're talking about the same comics that, you know, they don't, I haven't seen them write a new joke in more than 10 years, and I just think that the world, everybody needed like a little break from everything that's going on, especially less comics, because I missed it so much of us talking comedy. So I just figured, you know, we'd do these debates, these 3-part debates of like comics talking comedy or talking about like why these people are their favorite and how they inspired them. So that's the original reason that I did these debates. So this is the 3rd one. I hope that you guys really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed doing them. Both moderating and just now actually debating. It was a lot of fun. I love talking comedy with my comedy buddies, you guys. Whatever it is that you love doing, I hope that you do it. And I hope that you find a way to do whatever it is that you haven't been able to do as much as you like these past several months since the lockdowns. And I hope that, you know, I'm in a state of California where we're like the last to open or do anything. So wherever you are, I hope you guys are at least in a state where slowly it's starting to come back. As I said to Pat in the beginning of the episode, that I was so thankful that he invited me to come down and do his open mic. Even though it was an open mic, I was just so happy to be back and be a part of also my peers, open micers that are just feeling free to give their opinions on things. I never thought that I would miss an open mic, you guys. Let alone, you know, they threw me up last, and which I loved it. Usually at open mic you go, I don't want to go last. So I loved it. I loved that I got to sit there and listen to every single one of their views and opinions and ideas for new jokes and just, you know, just riff them out and talk them out. I thought that it was phenomenal, and I just really enjoyed it. Not to mention they all, like, whether a joke was like perfect or not, like all of them have something. All these kids I saw that night in that tent at an open mic, which is, they all had it. Like, they all had the hunger. They all had these great ideas. Who knows if they're going to make it into the joke or if it's going to ever be a successful bit, but like, you can hear that their mind is in the right place. You can hear that like they're all really talented guys, even when it comes to performing. And I got to go up afterwards and riff out the stuff that I was working on. And then afterwards, some of them gave me tips, which a couple of them were great tips, that I was having trouble with this one story, and it was just so great to be a part of that again. So whatever it is that you love doing, I hope that you're able to do it a little bit more and more. Find ways that you can do it here and there, even if it's like, you know, versions of it. I get it, guys. It's not the same, but, you know, it's nice, you know, to do something at least. Keep you from going crazy. You got to keep sane a little bit. I slept so much better, and you know, I wish I could do stand-up comedy every night. I would start sleeping a lot better like I used to, and not having such, weird dreams and stuff. But I get to do stand-up comedy pretty soon. Hopefully it doesn't cancel because of any craziness going on. I will be in Philly November 12th through the 14th. You can get tickets on the website homeschooledpod.com. Once again, it's home, H-O-M-E, schooled, like past tense, schooledpod.com, homeschoolpod.com. Click on tour, and you can also download my comedy album by clicking on merch and click out. The link for downloading the album is there, as well as picking up a t-shirt. Support our podcast by picking up a t-shirt, and support me as a comedian by downloading my album and leaving it a 5-star review. You guys, crazy shit's happening. I'm recording this Monday night. You're probably getting this Tuesday morning, which is like the last day for voting. It's election day. Shit's gonna go down, especially in blue states. I'm sorry, I hate to say it, but it's the truth. Or, if you live in an area that's kind of seems normal most of the time, some of it might trickle to you. It seems like it's going to be a lot in the main cities. Like, in Oregon, it's a lot in downtown Oregon, like by the courthouse. Here in California, they've already bordered up like Beverly Hills, downtown LA, Santa Monica, Hollywood. I think some will trickle into North Hollywood. I don't know about the Valley, but either way, guys, normally I tell everybody, don't be scared. Get out there. You got to live your life. You got to do what you got to do. I really, really promote that a lot. This is a time where it's time to be smart. Don't go out there. Just for a couple of days, feel it out and see how crazy it gets out there, especially at night. Don't be out after dark. If you got anything to do it in the daytime. Okay? Get all your stuff done. Before nightfall, make sure you're home, you're locked in, your family and loved ones are home and locked in. And just be safe, you guys. I love all of you. Just remember that we got to spread love. Only love's going to save the world, not hate. You can't fight hate with hate. Just remember that only love's going to save the world. I love you guys. Oh, shit. I almost forgot. I got some shout-outs. Here to do today. Some Twitter shout-outs. Here we go. I want to give a shout-out to my old friend, Dustin Zawacki. I want to give a shout-out to Brundle Fly. Jake Y. Wasson. Positive for sure. I like that. I want to give a shout out to my dude, Michael Klein from One by One Podcast. Congratulations. He's doing a great job on the Uncle Joey's joint. I want to give a shout out to my old friend, Waterboxer. He's a solid dude. I want to give a shout out to Squirrely Sunshine and Alexander Voigt. My girl, Cheryl Nixon. She's awesome. I want to give a shout out to the Garnett, Marvis Parvis, I love it. And Jim Nunya, where has he been? Thank you guys so much for all the love and support. If I give you a shout out, it's because you supported me or showed some love in some way online. I hope that you like the podcast. I hope that you subscribe and keep coming back for more. We have great guests, great episodes. And if you're listening on YouTube, we're trying to build our YouTube, and we're doing our best, you guys. So hopefully you hit subscribe and keep coming back for more. Thank you very much. Thank you, Pat Colicchio. Thank you, Kevin Lyons. And thank you guys for supporting the Homeschool Podcast. I'm Augustino Zoida. Stay safe, guys. I'll see you in a couple days. Homeschool Podcast.
Homeschool.
The Homeschool Podcast. Why? Because he was homeschooled.
I don't want to do that.
No, okay.
I don't want to do that at all.